guys, welcome back to another Ballet Barre Basics video. So something that I think was missing from my original Ballet Barre Basics series was talking about the arms. Obviously in ballet sometimes we can get a bit obsessed with the legs and we kind of forget about the arms. I am definitely guilty of that, so I really wanted to make a dedicated video just talking about the arms, just go through some tips and things that will hopefully help you guys. So let's start with the very basics of the arms. First of all, we want to have our shoulders back and down. We don't want to be coming forward with the shoulders or letting them just kind of relax. We really want to be pulling the shoulders down using these muscles in our back. So that's the first thing. That is all the way through ballet class and I know it's really hard and I quite often forget about my shoulders, but we really do want to be opening up the chest and pulling the shoulders back and down while we're in class. Another way that you can think about it, which really helps me, is actually to think about lengthening the shoulders this way. So again, I don't want to be bringing my shoulders like this, just back. I actually want to be thinking of lowering but elongating that line, that shoulder line this way. Because I find that helps more than thinking about crunching them back, because other things sometimes can happen here when we do that. So I just think about bringing the shoulders down and widening them, and it's something that I have to still work on. I still have to think about it, and I know that it's not that easy, but it's something that we can all work on and it's going to just help our line no end. So now if I come to the side, the idea is that not only do we have turnout in our legs, but we also have turnout in our arms. So this is not turnout. Turnout is going to be, obviously my shoulders are staying in their place, but my elbows are pushing forward and my hands, I'm not letting my hands drop like this, my hands are also following that line. So it's really useful and important to look at yourself in the mirror from a profile, because quite often in ballet we like to stand front ways on, but this is really going to help with the arm line. So bringing those elbows forward, shoulders staying back, and again not letting the hands drop but keeping those hands following the line of the arm. Okay, so when we're at the bar, obviously we've usually got one hand on the bar. Now how do we find where we're going to put our hand on the bar? The idea is that we would come to a second position and we would just lower until we're on the bar. So that means that my arm it's not to the side of me, it's slightly in front of me, my elbow's not down, my elbow is lifted. So that is the ideal position for our arm to be on the bar. And also I don't want to be too close to the bar or too far away from the bar. So just making sure this is the easiest way to do the check. You come to first position, second position, lower, and that is where you want to be holding onto the bar. Now with the other arm we have limited positions because we only have one arm. So we have our bra bar, our first, our second, our fifth. So those are the rounded arm positions. Different schools will want the elbow to be bent at slightly different angles. So some schools like a slightly longer line, some schools like a slightly shorter line. So in this case you just need to ask your teacher just to make sure that you're using your arms in the correct style for whatever class you're doing. So in this case, mine is somewhere in the middle. It's not really extended, but it's also not this line, so it's somewhere in the middle. So this would be our bra bar. I'm not touching my leg, I'm slightly away from my leg. Again, elbows forward, fingers are relaxed, and then I can come to first position, second. Now when I come to second, I'm not letting my arm come back. It's going to stay, my hand is always going to stay in front of me. And if I'm looking forward, I can still always see both hands in my peripheral vision. So if I suddenly can't really see my hands, I know I'm too far back. Now the idea in second position, you might have heard your teacher say this before, is that a raindrop could run all the way from my shoulder down and off my first finger. So if I'm like this, that raindrop's not going to make it past my elbow. That's why that elbow needs to stay lifted. And the same, if I'm like this, so my elbow is lifted but my hand is also lifted, that raindrop's not going to make it past my wrist. So it's just thinking about that continuous line all the way down. The other thing we need to think about is not dropping the elbow. So if I'm coming, for example, from second to bra bar, there's going to be a point before my hand reaches bra bar that my elbow's in the correct position and my elbow's going to stay there. So what I'm not going to do is drop my arm all the way here and then bring it back up. Does that make sense? So I'm lowering. When my elbow reaches its place, it stops, and then just the lower arm continues. So that's very different than seeing this. I hope you can see the difference. So it's always thinking about that distance here. No matter what's happening with the forearm and the hand, there's always a separation, in classical ballet anyway, between the upper arm and the torso. Now when we come to fifth position, there is definitely a temptation for the shoulder to go up. So really think about still that shoulder line when you're in fifth position. And again, sometimes what can happen in fifth is that we stretch the elbow too much, so remember to keep it nice and rounded. And when we're in fifth, instead of pushing the elbows forward, we're going to be bringing them back. So I know it's a lot to think about, but remember that shoulders are down and keeping that nice curve in the elbow. Again, in some schools they're going to want it slightly more open or slightly more closed, it just depends. Something else that is quite challenging, for example, when we're doing pliés, quite often we will have a port de bras towards the bar. Now, something to think about is that this position in fifth is not going to change. What's going to change is the angle of my body. So what's not happening is that my arm's coming closer to my head. So it comes from here, but if I just straighten up now, my arm is still in a fifth position. So don't be tempted to start wafting it too close to your head or anything like that. And the other thing is to keep your shoulder down. Not just this shoulder, but also this shoulder, because we can sometimes find we're doing things like this, but remember to keep both shoulders down. So those are the basic rounded positions of the arms at the bar. Now the other things that we have with the arms is we have the allongé. Allongé in French means to elongate, and sometimes what I see, and I think this is a stylistic thing now, but if you're bringing it right back to basics, like pure classical technique, then because an allongé is just an elongation, that means that I am not going to move my elbow at all. Wherever my elbow is, I'm just elongating that line. What I'm not doing is bringing it up and down. So obviously once you get to a high level, there's a lot of, you can bring in expression and all of those kinds of things, but in the pure sense of the word, allongé is just to elongate. So it's the same in second position. If you're doing a breathe and an allongé, it's only going to be to there and then whatever comes next. So a lot of the time what I see is this, and if choreographically that's what's been given, then that's great. And of course in other styles like Balanchine and things like that, then it's totally different. But if you're talking about pure classical technique, then the allongé is just going to be to extend that arm line and then whatever comes next. So if it's pliés, for example. So you don't need to lift the elbow at all or waft the hand. Again, there's nothing wrong with that, it's just that's a stylistic thing, it's not the pure technique. And then of course we have other lines. So if I'm in first, then we have these kinds of lines, and then we have of course épaulement, so we're going to actually be changing the line of the shoulder and the upper torso. That's much more advanced, so I'm going to leave that out of the ballet basics for now. But just one more thing that I want to add to this ballet bar basics is the hand on the bar. So obviously it can be quite controversial, because I know that we're sometimes tempted to really grip onto the bar, and there are some people that would say, you should only be touching with 2 fingers and things like that. Obviously, if people are saying, you should only be touching with 2 fingers, ideally at the bar, you should definitely be testing your balance at moments. So you can even, just let go for a second and test your balance and see if you've got your weight in the right place. That is a great idea. But you don't need to feel like you need to do the whole bar just with 2 fingers, because the idea of the bar is that we can actually strengthen the other parts of our body, our turnout and all of those things, so that when we come to the centre, we've really strengthened and conditioned those things. And the idea is that the bar is there as an aid. If it, if it was just that we had to do it like this, then we wouldn't even do bar, we'd just do everything in the centre. So it's fine to have the bar as an aid and to support you, but obviously it's not great if we're depending on the bar too much. So definitely while you're at the bar, whatever you're doing, you know, just give yourself a little test. Am I on balance? Good. You know, while I'm on releve, is my weight in the right place? Am I balanced? Yes, I am. Okay, good. It's a nice idea to test yourself, but it's finding the balance between, you know, gripping on too hard and not using the bar at all, and just using it in the way that it's meant to be used. So I'm also going to be doing a port de bras video, so that will be obviously arms, but it'll be in the centre, and we will go into a little bit more detail about how we use the arms in the centre. So I really hope that was helpful, guys. I know that there's a lot to think about, and obviously you've got to think about all of that at the same time as you're thinking about everything that your legs are doing. But just remember that it will come with practice, so please don't get disheartened that there's a lot to think about. And the other thing that you can do is sometimes choose like a class to focus on your arms and then a class to focus more on your legs. Obviously you're going to have to do both all the time, but really making an effort. It's nice to do a class where you think, right, today I'm really going to work on my arms and think about my arms. As always, if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments below and I'll get back to you, or if you have any video requests. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!